Yeah, Frame Raider.
Welcome to my weapons tier list for World at War's Zombies mode. By weapons, I mean specifically the default weapons which take up a weapon slot, for the simple reason that I don't use the specials all that much and thus don't have too much experience to provide context. It also helps to simplify this list a bit. That said, I can't knock them. There are legitimate reasons to consider frag grenades, molotovs, and most especially monkey bombs, which I do use frequently. Feel free to let me know how much I've been missing out on in the comments. Yeah, with that said, I'm not trying to flex any kinda skill in this video. I'm not particularly great at zombies, but I played it for hundreds of hours and I really love it, which is what matters most to me anyways. Before getting into the list, there are a number of things I'll have to mention to prevent any confusions. Mostly context to universal mechanics that'd be better to point out now than bringing back up for every gun. Firstly, this list does not consider pack-a-punched guns, nor the change in stats from external enhancers like perks. We're going full vanilla today. Many of the guns, upon reloading, will have an extra process of animation if you unload the magazines completely. I'll show these in the reload stats by using the label emptied. When you see that word, that's your cue that these select guns can be reloaded faster before running out of full mag. World at War's weapons, like most Call of Duty games, have variables. To be specific, a weapon may have a lowest damage output and highest damage output. What output you get at any given time is in these cases a result of RNG. I'm not the biggest fan of this mechanic, but that's just me. What I do like is how the damage will be multiplied depending on what part of the zombie's body you're targeting. Analyzing this aspect for each gun is a bit overkill, though I will be pointing out these values on headshots. After all, that's where you should try to be aiming for most of the time, as it provides the highest damage multiplier, and 100 points on kill opposed to the usual 60. To consider damage done, we need to know what capacity the target can handle. So how much HP do zombies have? First and foremost, every zombie is the same. At least, all those that spawn within the same round. Their health increases for each round up until round 20, where it increases every 10 rounds. It starts at 150 HP, the exact amount of damage your knife does. For each round, zombie health goes up by 100 HP. By round 10, they have over 1000 HP. It's at this point where health begins to multiply by 1.1 each round. To make sure you're getting max damage, you must of course consider accuracy. Firing from the hip is less accurate than using iron sights. In battle, however, things may eventually get too chaotic to use those. What's most important in these moments is the size of the crosshair. The larger it is in diameter, the less accurate it'll be. This varies between guns. For the most part, just looking at that crosshair on screen will tell you all you need to know about its accuracy. For today's lineup, I'm going to first show some stats, and the real-life counterpart for curiosity's sake. The game-related icons are sourced from the Call of Duty Wikia. The real-life images will be sourced underneath the picture. A lot of this information is from the Wikia, but unfortunately there were a few details missing. So a couple things I had to fetch on my own, which I really hope I'm right about, but it's hard to be sure. Ideally, I'd get everything in this video correct, but keep in mind, this video is just for fun anyways. Alright, that's all we should need to know for the tier list, so let's start with the first category, sidearms. I'll be listing these by minimum damage output first. The Colt, your starter weapon for each map. Its base damage is 20 units. After swapping it out, you can only collect it again from the mystery box. This weapon does not affect the player's speed. Oh, you might be wondering what it means where it says max next to rounds per minute. That represents the fastest possible output due to some select weapons relying on the speed of which you click your fire button. It's more than likely you won't be firing this fast, at least not at this consistency, but those are the stats. The Colt is only useful for the first 3 or 4 rounds, at which point even headshots don't do much. You'll probably have upgraded to some kind of rifle before getting to round 5, at which point you can forget about the Colt. Tier E. The 357 Magnum. Its base damage is 300 units, but this value can go up to 1000? Okay. I don't write the rules, I just read them. This weapon is only available from the mystery box. It moderately affects your player speed. The 357 Magnum is one of those guns you're more likely to swap over to in the mystery box. Even into later rounds, its usefulness is very high. Personally, it's always a goal of mine to have one single fire and one machine gun in my weapon slots. It's good to swap between the two. A situation of lesser resistance is perfect for a single fire weapon to pick off the remaining. If the Magnum is taking up that single fire slot, you'll hear no complaints from me. The only disadvantage is its reload time. At 3 seconds, it's not bad, but is outclassed by the ray gun for this, as well as magazine size. Tier A. Bolt action rifles. The Springfield. Its base damage is 50 units. As a wall weapon, it costs 200 points. It moderately affects player speed. With only half the damage of its counterparts, there's no reason to use the Springfield above anything else. Even on the first round, it won't one-hit kill zombies regardless of where you shoot them. Tier F. The Arasaka. Its base damage is 100 units. As a wall weapon, it costs 200 points. It moderately affects player speed. The Arasaka is only available on the third map, Shinonuma. It performs extremely similarly to the next gun. The difference between this and a Kar 98K is a slightly lower RPM, otherwise they're identical. This weapon isn't a bad choice for earlier rounds as you make your way up to something more powerful and practical. Tier E. The Kar 98K, I call it the Karnak for convenience. Its base damage is 100 units. As a wall weapon, it costs 200 points. It moderately affects player speed. What can you say about the Karnak that you can't say about the Arasaka? Not too much really, it's just that it has a difference of 3 RPM. Tier E. That said, the Karnak has a variant that longtime zombie players are likely aware of, the Scoped Karnak, exclusively found in Nocturne Toten. There's no documentation of this weapon's stats regarding zombies as far as I could tell, so I had to do my own testing. It leaps and bounds above the damage of a standard Karnak so long as you use that scope. Unlike the standard, you can also halt the reloading process midway to use however many shots are currently in the chamber before maxing it out. Very practical in that sense. It honestly surprised me just how powerful this thing is. I stumbled across a comment from Wikia where someone states the weapon is practically game-breaking. Well, maybe. This is dependent on how good you are at performing headshots. It also has to be scoped, which is kinda disorienting, at least for me, when I have to keep deploying it like that mid-battle. Regardless, that's your only chance of a one-hit kill later into the game, and at that point, it's what you need. Personally, I'm not that good at headshots. I'd imagine most others are around or at my skill level. I guess the weapon could be abused with this particular skill, but I can't really say this is a game-breaking weapon for the majority of people. I'm trying to keep variants out of the tier list, though if I were to put this up, I'd probably give this a C tier stamp. The PTRS-41. Its base damage is 1,000 units, only available from the mystery box. The player's speed is considerably decreased while wielding it. A lot of people tend to discredit this thing because it's a sniper. It's why people also disregard the scoped Karnak, I think. Well, especially in the PTRS case, they're missing out. It does a considerably high amount of damage. Admittedly, the slow moving speed is another factor to people's distaste, but as a secondary weapon, in between fire it proves to be very handy, even into later rounds. Tier B. Rifles. The Guer 43. Its base damage is 50 units. As a wall weapon, it costs 600 points. It moderately affects player speed. The Guer's firing rate is quite good. The question is always whether that low damage output is solid enough for its fire rate to matter. It does earlier into the game. In fact, at that point, it's a great weapon. It quickly shows its weakness as rounds progress, though. Tier D. The STG-44. Its base damage is 70 units. As a wall weapon, it costs 1,200 points. It moderately affects player speed. The STG is an all-around practical gun. It shoots fast, provides a decent output of damage, and reloads very quickly. As long as you can square dance the zombies into later rounds, it makes for a good choice. Tier B. The M1 Garand. Its base damage is 80 units. As a wall weapon, it costs 600 points. It moderately affects player speed. Oh, M1 Garand, if only your magazine was bigger. The fire rate and damage output are pretty decent, making this a good weapon earlier on. As time comes to pass, though, you are at a greater chance of finding something that'll serve you much better. Tier D. Yet another weapon with an obscure variant. You may sometimes come across the M1 Garand with grenade launcher attachment. Press the user-defined key to attach a grenade to the tip of the M1 Garand, fire to let it fly. I consider this more of a grenade type than a weapon slot, even though it kinda categorizes as both. It's definitely an improvement over the standard rifle. I'm not really sure if this even counts as a weapon itself, it's just an attachment. I'm excluding variants anyways. The M1A1 Carbine. Its base damage is 80 units. As a wall weapon, it costs 600 points. It moderately affects player speed. For a weapon that sounds like a toy, it performs much better than you'd expect. It has a higher damage output than the STG, though the RPM is over 100 short. The magazine is also cut in half. That said, it still fares much better than the other two rifles. The only real caveat is its reloading time, which is quite bad at nearly 4 seconds. This considerably nerfs its usability. It just barely qualifies as Tier C. Submachine Guns. The MP40. Its base damage is 60 units. As a wall weapon, it costs 1,000 points. This weapon does not affect the player's speed. The MP40 is very comparable to the STG, however it's, and to my surprise, slightly worse. Most of its values are just under the STG other than its accuracy and magazine size, which holds 2 more. What can be said for the STG translates pretty well to the MP40. Tier B. The Type 100. Its base damage is 60 units. As a wall weapon, it costs 1,000 points. This weapon does not affect the player's speed. The Type 100 is a step above the MP40. It does share its damage output, but with a fire rate increase of over 200, it has a much larger advantage. It also takes slightly less time to reload. Its biggest flaw is running through the ammo quickly. While it may be an improvement overall, it isn't quite an A tier yet. Tier B. The PPSH-41. Its damage is 60 units, only available from the mystery box. This weapon does not affect the player's speed. This picture shows a smaller magazine than in Zombies where it uses a drum barrel. I couldn't find an icon for the drum barrel, unfortunately. Now this is a force to be reckoned with. With speeds like that and a drum barrel magazine, you've got tons of firepower at your disposal. It does everything better than the last couple submachine guns. Its only downside is how it's not available on any walls, meaning you have to rely on max ammo to refill it. Still, you could always just swap it out for a Thompson when you run out. Tier A. This with a Magnum combo is going to do you a lot of good. The Thompson. Its base damage is 80 units. As a wall weapon, it costs 1,200 points. This weapon does not affect the player's speed. Another great choice, especially due to how most maps have one to be found on a wall, so you can buy ammo whenever you're nearby. However, the flaws of the Thompson in this game are mostly to blame for its small magazine. At least it reloads fast. If the developers opted to give this a drum barrel like the PPSH, it would probably be an S tier weapon due to how practical it is. But otherwise, Tier A. Machine Guns. The Bar. Its base damage is 85. As a wall weapon, it costs 1,800 points. It moderately affects player speed. I never understood why the game charges you more for this than the Thompson. It's inferior in every way, not to mention how it reduces the player's movement speed. It shares magazine size with the Thompson, but with its low fire rate and decreased damage, I can't say this one comes anywhere near as useful. That being said, the bar is still decent into later rounds. Keyword decent. It's not good, but can be serviceable if you fancy square dancing. Tier C. The bar is another weapon with an unusual variation. There's a wall-mounted one you can buy in Verrucht, which comes with a bipod attached. It sells for 2,500 points. That's a 700 point increase. Regarding my research, there is some evidence in the game's code to imply weapons with a bipod had the ability to be mounted on sandbags earlier into development. However, this idea was scrapped. This would likely explain the price increase, but unfortunately the bipod is useless, making it no better than the standard counterpart. The FG-42. Its base damage is 85 units. As a wall weapon, it costs 1,500 points. This weapon does not affect the player's speed, usually? There are two different titles for this gun. It'll either be labeled as FG-42 or Deployable FG-42. The FG-42 used in Shino Numa and Derice does not affect your speed. The Deployable FG-42 in Nocturne Toten and Verrucht moderately affects speed. Otherwise, there's no difference between the two. I'll only be considering the regular FG-42 since, while it does have an equal use between the maps, modders never really use the Deployable due to its decreased practicality. So in my research, it seems like most people hate this gun, which is funny because I always thought it was a great choice. It's a straight improvement over the bar, with the only downside being its slightly longer reload speed and underwhelming magazine size. Rate of fire is more than doubled, which means reloading is pretty common. Still, it's not useless like a lot of people will call it. Frankly, I'm not even sure how people can say that. Tier B. The Browning M1919. Its base damage is 90 units, only available from the mystery box. The player's speed is considerably decreased while wielding it. Ooh, a heavy machine gun. Hard to go wrong with this, other than the 6-second long reload time being its Achilles heel. Once you're primed and ready to go, however, it's very tanky. Huge magazine size, great damage, only outclassed by the following weapon, Tier A. The MG42. Its base damage is 90 units, only available from the mystery box. The player's speed is considerably decreased while wielding it. Oh man, it's Hitler's buzzsaw. The MG42 shares many similarities with the Browning, however there are two things it does particularly better: rate of fire and reload speed. These two things manage to make it a pretty dramatic improvement. If there's anything bad to say about both the Browning and MG42, it's that they're very heavy, meaning the player's speed is considerably reduced. But with this much firepower, you're going to be getting rid of most that comes your way regardless. Just hope there's not too many to outdo the already massive magazine size. Then you're screwed, unless you got a solid secondary like the Magnum or Ray Gun. Tier S. Shotguns. The Trench Gun. Its base damage is 1,280 units, that is if each slug reaches the target at close range. As a wall weapon, it costs 1,500 points. This weapon does not affect the player's speed. When you see undocumented there regarding headshots, well, that's just it. I couldn't find any information regarding headshot damage for this or the double-barreled shotgun. Even if I can't provide an exact value, I decided to look into this myself. After the testing, I found the results to be indecisive. Once the zombies get strong enough on later rounds, trench gun blows to the head will destroy the head. However, usually the zombies would keep running after you for a bit. Alternatively, you could aim for the chest, which usually does the job, but not always. In earlier rounds, either or would one-hit kill the zombies, so ultimately it doesn't matter much. I would never say there aren't definitive headshot stats for these weapons, it's just that actually executing this is a trivial matter. But yes, about that trench gun. It provides a heavy damage output so long as you're in close range, even into the later rounds. With 6 shots to deploy before reloading, you can in most cases take down 6 zombies. The annoyance is reloading for 4.5 seconds. Thankfully, you aren't forced to fill the chamber before you can shoot again. 1 shell, 2, 4, doesn't matter. So long as you feel confident with less shots before reloading again, the destiny is in the arms of the beholder. Of course, it must be considered, you gotta be close up to use it. That comes with its own set of consequences, especially later when there are so many incoming zombies. All the same, it fits among the A-tier guns. The double-barreled shotgun. Its base damage is 1,600 units if each slug reaches its target at close range. As a wall weapon, it costs 1,200 points. This weapon does not affect the player's speed. There's no denying the fun factor of this weapon. I buy it frequently for that alone, at least in the earlier rounds. Alas, truth be told, its slow speed makes it pretty useless compared to the trench gun once round 10 has been finished. That damage boost can't compare to the fast action of old Trenchy. Comparatively, it also has worse range. Tier B. Last variant for the day, the sawed-off double-barreled shotgun. It's another weird one. From everything I've read online, the only thing you can definitively say about it is that it suffers from a range decrease value of 100. I've long thought it did more damage close-up, but there's nothing to support that. At its best, this sawed-off variation is slightly worse than the original counterpart. I won't be including it in the tier list. Equipment. The M2 Flamethrower. Had to do some math to discover the damage of this one. Each impact does 30 damage, which occurs every 0.2 seconds. You can only collect this weapon from the mystery box. The player's speed is considerably decreased while wielding it. I rarely use this thing because in terms of practicality, it only does one thing well, which is gather points. With each hit giving you 10 points, as well as afterburn, it racks. Oh, and it racks a lot. The question is whether you need those points or not, because after all, this is taking up your secondary slot. You likely won't get this thing early into the game either due to its mystery box origins. This one is hard to rank. I doubt you'll ever use it for the damage or fire rate, especially with overheating. So, tier C, because it does have a benefit to consider. The M9A1 Bazooka. Its base damage is 600 units if properly directed at its target. You can only collect this weapon from the mystery box. The player's speed is considerably decreased while wielding it. There's a reason people moan and groan when they get this thing out of the mystery box. Come on. There's just no reason to use it. It deploys a single rocket before reloading, which can damage you if shot too close. The damage output is very poor considering its use. If this is supposed to cluster kills in a blast radius, then how come its maximum damage is half that of a blow from the trench gun? Even during the earliest rounds, if you take this out of the box, you've likely only done so as a joke. Tier F. What were they thinking with this one? Wonder Weapons. The Ray Gun. Its base damage is... well, it's a bit like the Magnum, whereas it deals a decent value of 300 units, but the value can go up to something crazy, aka 1,500. This weapon is only available from the mystery box. It does not affect the player's speed. The ray gun is like a Magnum on steroids. The difference is its maximum damage and larger capacity, which also happens to push you back somewhat when firing. Regarding headshots, I believe this performs similarly to the trench gun scenario. The ray gun won't slow you down either. It's an all-around improvement with one drawback: blast damage. Using the ray gun at ultra close range results in the player taking a hit, so if they repeat this action in a short time after the first blow, or get hit by a zombie, that's game. A risky weapon, but the rewards it provides in battle can be considered far greater by a cautious player. Tier S. The Wunderwaffe DG2. This weapon is very unique. It has no defined damage output, rather has the guarantee to kill a maximum of 10 nearby zombies. You can only collect this weapon from the mystery box. It does not affect the player's speed. The Wunderwaffe is the all-powerful stopping machine, the perfect secondary, an escape from any situation. Just aim this thing near a group of zombies and watch them experience their last painful moments of consciousness. You can't really say anything bad about this weapon because even the things that may make it seem unappealing, like the 6-second reload time, well, it's completely made up for with how much use it provides to the player. Especially knowing that regardless of the zombie's health, 10 kills are a guarantee so long as there are 10 within its impact range. Tier S. So that was my tier list of World at War's weapons regarding its zombies mode. I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to subscribe for more videos like this one in the future. Catch you Frame Raiders in the next one.